Hi everyone. I'm going to be throwing a cylinder and a bowl. Had some questions about throwing technique, and we're going to cut them in half and take a look at hand position. It's a great way to see what's going on with your work. Kind of like taking an x-ray of your pot when you cut it in half. Hope everyone's understanding centering. I'm going to open my hand so you can see the pressure as I add it between both of my palms, right? That pressure on the side will make that cone go upward. And then I can compress with my palms, the pads of my palms. And back and forth, right? Usually my hands are going to be cupped like this, but I just want you to see how that pressure makes that clay go up and down, right? Smooth, steady, even pressure. And get it down into a nice mound. So, if you noticed, I moved my hands over to the right side here for pulling, okay? One of the hardest things to understand in making a cylinder is feeling how the pressure on the outside needs to be to drive that clay upward, right? So if you just take your finger and run it along the outside and press inward, it'll drive that clay up, okay? And then when you add your inside hand to that and add support and pinch together, it'll go up that just more, right? So a force is meeting on both sides, pinching the clay together, and we're pulling upwards. And making a cup, you want to make something that is more like a cone shape in the beginning, right? So maybe the base is a little bit wider than the top in the beginning. It's a good shape to shoot for. And the second pull. This is a pretty narrow cup that I have going right now. Pretty narrow cylinder, I should say. I'm going to stop halfway on this so you can see my hand position. So base, pressure, pinch between the inside and the outside finger, and lift that clay upwards, right? I'll stop right about there. I want you to see what's going on the inside of my cup. So little bit of triage, a little bit of surgery. So as you can see, my inside finger is just above my outside finger here. Okay? I'm adding pressure from the outside. I'm pulling over a little bit of that clay from the inside over this finger. And I'm pinching that clay together, and when I move upwards, it'll drive that clay more vertically, right? It'll lengthen it. So you can already see from this side to this side, this is just a touch taller than this side is right here, okay? So let's clean the slate. And start again. Remember, cylinders equal more pressure from the outside moving inward. You can see how this tapers slightly from the base to the rim. And as I move through my poles, my cylinder will become just a little bit more straight. Reason for that being is I'm adding pressure at the base, driving that clay inward. I'm pulling that clay over from the inside, pinching together and moving up. There we go. Stay with me for just a minute. Sorry, I forgot my large sponge. So, if you ever get the chance to just take a look at one of your cups from the inside out, I recommend it. You can see what's going on the inside, if it's even. You know, it's always going to be just a slightly bit thicker on the bottom than the top. This is nothing to really be concerned about right here. This thickness here compared to, you know, this up on top. We'll be able to trim off the base really nicely with that slab of clay left on the bottom. move into bolts. So cleaning off the wheel head again. Cups and bowls start the same way, right? I could either throw a cup or a bowl right now. I'm going to throw a bowl. So bowls equal more pressure from the inside moving outward, right? So instead of moving out to in and up, I'm moving inward to outward and up. So creating a V shape, right? So squeezing that clay together, bringing that clay from the inside over my outside finger and lifting up. The finger position is just about the same. Pressing inward on the outside, bringing that inside finger, pinching that clay over my outside finger, and moving upward. Okay, I'm getting this really nice V shape from my bowl. I'll do one more pull, and we'll cut it in half and take a look at it. Adding pressure from the outside. I'll stop right there. So it's pretty subtle with this finger position here, right? But you can see where that clay is being pinched between my two fingers, and I'm moving upward and out, right? So if that were to continue, we get a little bit more height and even out the clay a little bit. When throwing bowls, it's nice to leave it a little on the thick side, because then we can stretch it out a little bit, which we'll do on the next bowl I throw. So take into account how thick this wall is compared to the wall that will be on the next bowl. noticed I really like to drive that clay up on the first pull. So taking my finger from the outside here, pushing that clay inward, and then pinching it from the inside and moving up, right? I get a little wobble to it, that's all right. I had 3 pulls on the last bowl. I'll do 3 here just to keep it even. That feels pretty good. Great. So I'm going to use my metal rib to stretch this. Using this rib is a really nice bowl rib. It's got a really nice edge to it. The metal rib is really nice and sharp. It'll pull off that slip. As you can see here, it dries out the surface a little bit, and with that slip, you just wipe it on your bucket. So I always like to start from the top down. And I just let that clay glide over the rib edge nice and softly until I get to the base. Okay. So it pulls off all that slip, stiffens up the clay wall a little bit, and makes it really nice and smooth. Right? So the bowl is nice and round on the inside. And will work well with, using spoons and utensils. And you can really take this far, right? If you throw thick bowls and stretch it out, you can have a really nice weight to them. I'm not going to stretch this out too far because when I cut it in half, I don't want it to slump. So let's take a look at silhouette of this bowl. As I pulled up, it pulled in a little bit. So you can see the difference between the clay wall. It's slightly thin over here. It's thicker again on bottom, like that cylinder, but this can get trimmed off nicely and it'll make things even and have a nice feel to them. So it's a little bit more in depth of hand positioning for cylinders and bowls. Send any questions that you guys may have, right? So remember, all this clay can get mixed up, thrown in front of the fan, and in about 15 to 20 minutes it's ready to throw again. Okay, so reuse your clay well. We'll see you on the next one.